Alright, we are recording for a look at the firmware and software situation for the NK65 and technically any other custom mechanical keyboard that uses QMK firmware with support for VIA. So first I'm going to show you VIA right here because honestly, probably more than 9 times out of 10, it's all you're going to need. So basically, QMK is an open source firmware that runs on a plethora of custom mechanical keyboard devices and similar things like macro pads. The thing is, it's firmware. You make a change to it, you have to flash the firmware in order to have the change applied. VIA is different. VIA is related to QMK. It's based on QMK, so it's QMK firmware with support for VIA, but it allows you to make changes in real time. So right now we are looking at the key map that I have set up. It is not the default key map, but we're looking at the key map I've set up for layer 0 on this keyboard. But chances are, though, what you should be doing the first time you plug in a keyboard like the NK65 is not go to this. No, don't go here. And this is, by the way, the website for VIA, and it's caniusevia.com. That's the homepage, and you can click that, you can download it. Right there. And if it ever comes up that you need to, here's the list of all of the firmware, and I'm just going to quickly, no, it's going to be a little bit lower. There it is. So this is the firmware that I could flash onto the NK65 to basically reset it to stock VIA. Stock with support for VIA. But it came with it. Already flashed on. That came with VIA support out of the box, so no reason to do that. Oop. Actually meant to hit back. I am going to get to this tab just in a little bit. So the first thing I recommend you do when you plug in a custom mechanical keyboard like this is go over to this tab, this key tester tab. Don't worry about configuring, go over here. So this is how it will first show up, but really what you should do is go to this view. So the idea is you have put your switches into this keyboard. Don't even bother putting keycaps on yet. You have the switches in, just run through them like that. And I am sure that, oh, yeah, I forgot I hit caps lock in there. This is to make sure that all of the keys actually are working. I'm just skipping the OS key because that will actually open the thing up and I don't feel like showing that. So I do know that key works. But yeah, do that, make sure that all the keys work. I actually did when, after I built it, found that this key was not working. A pin on the switch was bent, easy enough to fix. Just put in a different switch and then fix the broken switch a little later. Now that's not to say this view isn't useful, it's just probably want to do this first just to make sure everything works. Then, yeah, go ahead and put on keycaps and can start worrying about this stuff. So this is my default, my default layer, but the way it actually comes is going to be like this. So this is, if you didn't have the ability to use VIA, this is probably what you'd use. This is the QMK configurator, and currently this is just the default layout, default key map. And if I just hit compile here, it would take some time to make it. Yeah, actually, I'll just hit that and let it go. So you can see it's going to be doing all that. Then I'm going to get a file that I can flash using the QMK toolbox, which right here's the link. Get QMK toolbox. This is what that software looks like. Right now, it won't work because I need to put the keyboard into a state so that this can see it and can flash the firmware to it. I just don't feel like doing that at the moment. I might do that at a later time, but right now I want to focus on VIA because basically that's what you're going to want to use. Because it actually has more functionality than the configurator, but a lot of stuff is similar. So like right here, we're more or less the same, where you can go in here and make changes. For example, I have this as just straight escape. This, by default though, is escape grave. What that means, and I don't even know what page that would be on here. Might be into quantum. Yep, right there. Escape normally, but tilde when shift or GUI is pressed. I don't quite remember which one GUI is. That's either the menu key or something else. Anyway, but by default it's that. The thing is, that means if you want to do something like Control-Shift-Escape to pull up Task Manager, it won't work. So I changed it to just straight escape, so that way that will work. Another change I made, oh, and yeah, you can make that change in here very simply. You can just do that, or when it's selected, I'll just, change it to something else, selected, change it back. That is actually one thing you can't, well, it works a little differently in VIA. You can't click and drag. You need to select it, so you see it's highlighted, then hit it, and it's applied. Most everything else here is the same to the default layout that I'm using, except for right here. Because I don't care about right alt. I don't really use it that much. I do use it, but not that much. But I do want this MO1. So what that is momentarily enable layer 1. Which is that there, and right here you get to it here. So on this layer, we have the function row, we have controls for the LEDs, volume controls, the reset, which is the button you need to press so that this can be used, and okay, it doesn't say it in there. It actually, if I scroll up, it's in here, I think. There's a way, okay, yeah, so this is, if you don't have the reset button, or you for some reason can't get to it, you would unplug the keyboard, hold escape, plug it in, and then it can flash using the toolbox. But, if you have the key, just press the key. Yeah, so we got the LED controls, volume controls down here. This I added, and these I added. So these are on the page up, page down. It's just sometimes I prefer, instead of going, hang on, they're not selected? Don't know why page down doesn't want to work, but let's, and just to prove it, does this need to be selected? Oh yeah, it does. Okay. Yeah, so I was hitting it, but only when I'm actually activating it. So it's the scroll wheel. Is that working for some reason on here? I don't know why. I legitimately don't know why. I will explain. Well, here, I'll tell you what this is right now. This is to toggle on layer 2. I do have some stuff there. I will get to that in a little bit though, because I want to cover some other things first. So yeah, in order to put any keys on any of these layers, you would just, select it and do something like that. What these triangles are is this, which says down there KC trans for transparent. It passes through. So the layers here work just like layers in an image editor like Photoshop or GIMP, in that when you have a layer above, if there's transparency in the layer, you just see what's below that. So if I hit this key, which is the Q key, even if the this layer is activated, it'll say, oh, I need to pass that down to the next layer, that's Q, and it gives Q. So yeah, it's actually a really, really neat system. Works quite well and makes a lot of sense to me as well. And as you can see, we have the same triangle symbol over here in the configurator. Alright. I'm just trying to decide, okay, that'll work. Yeah, so in order to get this like MO1 or R app, which is the menu key, menu is actually right here, so boom, that applies. Not sure why it's menu here and R app there, which I assume is right app. Does it actually? Yeah, KC app, so it's putting it there. It's just a little odd how it has those labeled. Yeah, KC app context menu. Okay. But for the special stuff, you would go there to get escape. Wasn't escape grave on here? It was in here. I don't remember where it is in VIA. Unfortunately, there is no search, but you do have that here. So if I wanted... that, and so there's one instance of it in ANSI, one in ISO.js, one in Quantum, that's the escape grave, and 2 in keyboard settings. Swap grave and escape. Okay, and unswap. Yeah, so that is actually 2 features I do like of the configurator that on NVIDIA, the drag and drop and that search. Maybe I'm just not seeing escape grave on here. I know it, or do they have it in basic? It makes more sense. Ah, here it is. But I'm not using that. Now we got the lighting stuff here, which this is actually, what's neat here is this proves that VIA is loading the stuff from the keyboard, that it's recognizing what the keyboard is and getting its information, because these are not the standard QMK commands, which you can see here. See how we got these any's in there? That's because this is basically send any key code to the keyboard, as opposed, so you can, that's here. So just gonna, as an example there, and then you would type it in. So that would be key code left alt, which is not necessary to put in as an any key, but it is necessary as an example right now. But yeah, so we see that it is necessary for the LED controls here, whereas the default controls, here they are, keyboard settings. But because apparently that is not what the NK65 uses, VIA doesn't list those, instead lists what it does use. Which it goes through here, lets you control the brightness up and down here, effect speed, what the effect is, you can go up and down the list. The hue for color 1, hue for color 2, saturation for color 1, saturation for color 2. You can look at the lighting right here. So currently have it off, so as you can see, nothing too special here. Have the brightness at about half. Effect speed is, what's that, a third? It doesn't really matter right now, but go to solid. So there's color 1. It's a red, and hue, moving it, increasing it would go this way, decreasing it that way, saturation up and down. Okay? So that's one of the effects, is also Alpha's mods, which unfortunately we don't get a preview of it here, but it's basically, I'm going to go back to layer 0. All the character keys, so that's the number row, the letters, and these special characters here will be in red currently. That's what it's set, that is what it is set to be. But all the modifier keys, like the navigation keys, the shift, right control, alt, shift, all that backspace, arrow keys, tab, caps lock, those are all in the cyan. By the way, space is considered an alpha key. It's a character key. I think that makes more sense to identify it as. Alphas is completely appropriate. I'm just saying, for me, telling you, it's any key that gives you a character. Then we got gradient vertical colors, so it's from 1 to 2, and these colors persist. So this is just color 1 always, this is just color 2 always. So it's not like I could have solid color be white, and then for the alphas have it be the red and blue still. We got the raindrop colors, where it's, unfortunately I don't really have a good way of getting video of this at the moment. But yeah, it's basically just every key is getting some color between the red and blue, it seems, and just it's randomly changing, because we do have per key lighting here, though it's, you can't like have G be a specific color from all the others, but it's just giving an effect of it changing. Cycle all, where all the keys are just cycling through the colors. Cycle horizontal, it's going from left to right, a gradient, a rainbow gradient. Vertical, same idea. Jelly bean raindrops, so similar to raindrops before, where it's just, single keys are changing color, but what the colors are is a little different. More of a, softer, so like lower saturation. Radial all hues. Which, what is the last one? Radial color. Okay, so this is like there's a center point around like H and J that the colors are just spinning around. So like right now I got green at the arrow keys, red's at escape. So green down here, red up here, and it's just spinning around like that. And then radial color, where it's colors around the red currently, so I got yellows and oranges, and it's spinning around in the same way. I actually kind of like the AlphaZen mods. I think that looks nice. Which effect speed would not impact, it's just apparently that's always listed. But brightness does, and if I do this, it does increase it, and I can turn it back down to here. Now one thing is that my going through those effects, my going through the brightness, and my going through the colors, like if I were to click in here and actually change them, although this isn't instant, but this stuff, it was immediately changing it live. That is really neat, and very helpful. You can't do that in QMK Configurator. You can in VIA. Very nice. But one thing is that if I hit function and now I just turned off the lights. So I went from alpha mods to solid color to all off, because it does follow that same order. VIA doesn't know. VIA doesn't see it. And I don't think doing that, no, it didn't update it. If I unplugged and plugged back in, then it would. Alright, so I think now's a good time I can explain what is this. So this will toggle on layer 2, right here. So it toggles it on and off. So if I hit that, it will enable layer 2, and it will also disable this layer because it can't. Well, actually, no, it will be enabled because of the pass-through if I keep holding down FN. I could disable that, but no, it's fine. The reason I have that toggled on is I actually, earlier today, needed to make some recordings, and now I'm making another recording, and later I will be making more recordings because that's part of what I do. I want to be able to use Alt F9 and Alt F10 because that's the key command I use in OBS to start recording, to save replays, stuff like that. The thing is, in order to get F9, I have to go to this layer. There's no longer an Alt on this layer though, because this would be the Alt. That is mute, and there is no Alt over here. I could put it in, but where? I mean, would I make it this? I could, technically, I guess. But it would still be kind of awkward. So what I decided was to make a macro for it. So, and this is where I did make a small mistake, but hang on, let me look real close. Yeah, that is way too hard to see in there. That right here, what it's saying in order to put in the basic key codes, it looks like it's a square bracket. No, it's curlicue. So if you, here, let me actually go to an empty one. So if you just do that, see, nothing happens. It will just type that, which is actually how these, will work normally. So if I do like that, that's macro 4. I'll put it there just to prove. Now I hit function, so I'm on the correct layer and hit that. Wait. Oh, hang on. I didn't save it. There. Function Q. Oh, it took a while to save it, I guess. There we go. So it just types it out for me. There. I don't need any of that though. Don't need that macro. But in order to get key commands like left alt and F9, I would have to type in kc _L alt and kc _F9. And it even points out there that you can, if you hit question mark, it'll give you that list. Personally though, this makes more sense. You open up curlicue and it will be like, oh, let me try to help you finish this, and you can do that, and then like left alt, and it'll finish it there. You can hit enter, done, and then kc F, and it'll list the F keys and 9. So I want to be able to use these somehow, but I need keys to put them on. I don't really want to mess with this layer, so went to layer 2 and stuck them here. So Alt F9 is actually down here. This is nothing, so the navigation keys will not be the navigation keys, basically. M1, macro 1, is right here, and that's Alt F10. That's the key combination I use, the hotkey I use in OBS to save the replay buffer. So I want that up higher because chances are I'm going to leave my left hand where it is. It's my right hand that's going to come over and tap it to save a replay buffer, or tap F12 to have Steam or whatever save a screenshot. And ML0, that is the Alt F9 will... I'm trying to remember now. Is that to save the It's either to start recording and stop recording, or it's to start and stop the replay buffer. I don't remember which. I'll check. It's not a big deal though, and I can, if it is that it should be control right there, done. Although it did stick in a comma that it should not have. So, oh wait, that would have been the wrong one. I know this is Alt F10. I know is the thing I want. Okay, and also you can do the whole tap enter at the end. So with Hello World, if I had done that, it would put in a carriage return there. If I had the macro be Control S to save, it would then, well, that would automatically save, but let's say it hasn't been saved before. You know, in Word, it's like, oh, this hasn't been saved before, I need a file name. It'll only stick something in there and just the controls, it'll hit enter, so it will save it with whatever the default thing is. And since I have the toggle layer 2 right there, you see it's on the same thing. So it's basically I can just hit this key, then that key. It will put me onto layer 2. Layer 1 will not be layer 1 will not be active. This will not be present because there's nothing to hold it active. That's what this key does. If I am on layer 2 and I press the FN key, then layer 1 is active, but just on its own, it is not. Layer 2 is toggled on, layer 1 does not impact, so all of these transparents go all the way down to layer 0. So, yeah, it's actually, I think that should work fairly well. I just need to make sure if it's Alt or Control. But that's how you do it. That's how you can go in and customize the key map by selecting and then clicking on what you want. That's how you make macros. It's curly Q, not square bracket. The lighting effects are controlled in here. Here's the advanced stuff. So, for example, okay, if I turn that on, the NK65 already has LEDs on it that it will use for identifying caps lock. So if I press that, there's 3 LEDs. The top one comes on for caps lock. But now that I have this enabled, if I hit caps lock, it not only turns that light on, but also all of the RGB LEDs underneath the keys go to, in this case, white, because that's what is there. If I do that, now they're all blue. Okay, and I'm fine leaving it white, even though I'm not going to use it. The same idea with layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3, but layer 1 and layer 2 are also, there's 2 LEDs, a white and a red. The white one is the middle one, that's layer 1. The bottom one is red, and that's layer 2. Unfortunately, layer 3 doesn't get any love, apparently. If you turn that on, you don't have any LEDs there, so it might actually be a decent idea to have this enabled. But let's go to a yellow, because I don't really use that in anything. Unfortunately, I can't like force it to be in there, so yeah, I'm gonna do this. Layers. Momentarily 3. Yeah, so that's a decent yellow color. But I'm not gonna keep it. That was just to confirm that it worked. Oh. Alright, now in order to save this stuff, can just hit that. That one right there. So I actually didn't save it since I put together the macros. And you can also save right here. You can save it right here. It saves a JSON file. These are not going to be the same JSON files, so you cannot import a JSON from VIA that stores its key map information into the configurator. And unfortunately, you cannot take a QMK configurator key map JSON file and load it into VIA. But you can still load it back into itself, and that's what this is. So this is basically the same, except for, although I did put them in, didn't I? Yes, I did. I just put them in here as any, which wouldn't work, but it's stored in there now. So this is more or less equivalent. But yeah, this is what my modifications look like to it, where we've got the FN key here, menu key here, and that's just straight escape. Alright, and also for the QMK configurator, you can like hit this and you can see basically every single QMK supporting device. Some of them are keyboards, some of them are macro pads. So I do know, like, these three are all 60% keyboards, different designs to them, but this I know. I'll do it over here. I mean, not that it really matters, but this one is actually, oh, it is still gonna ask, fine. Yeah, so there's the macro pad there. Will this actually? Yeah, sometimes, okay, so it's just, like, adds up so that the keys are properly shaped there, but we don't have an actual key map where the keys have this stuff applied. And one thing I will show, so this is hot swap keyboard, so it's only got the one layout, just like the NK65. But this is also 60% keyboard, but it can be soldered. So you can actually change the layouts just by changing where you decide to put the switches, which I think this is layout all. That's why we've got like 2 backspaces, 2 enters, 2 shifts, is to accommodate, by default, whichever position you put the switch in, it'll still work. Now, unfortunately, going to ISO, you see the layout, but it doesn't fill it in. But you can see right here how you've got the ISO enter. Right, I'm just going to go back to NK65. There. And by the way, the milkshake, the NK65 milkshake edition, this is kind of what the keycaps will look like. Kind of. You can change the keycaps to be from actually quite a list. I don't know how accurate some of them are, and I can also believe that the milkshake will end up looking a little different from this. I don't know, just because like the DSA is the keycap profile, so that could be other changes. But like there's carbon. Sure, let's look at a GMK. It's actually still a pretty neat tool just to generally get the idea of how the keycap colors are laid out. But it is also interesting. So it's like that escape there, because it's escape grave, doesn't have special coloring, but once you change it to escape, oh, now it's red. Yeah, kind of funny. All right, that's basically everything. I already showed you the compile. Didn't really get into the toolbox, but it is, you would just, hit reset on the keyboard. It would then be visible here. You'd find the firmware file you wanted to use. You can hit open to get the thing, but this will be a drop-down list of things you've already got available. Hit flash, and I'm pretty sure this is got as much automated as it can. But if you're ever unsure, or you just want to look at something, there's Summon Wizard, which is actually kind of serious in a way. But this is a YouTube video from a guy who, I'm pretty sure this is Mech Merlin. Oh, come on. Open up. There we go. Come on, finish loading. Yeah, this is from Mech Merlin. So just, I don't know if we see him, but it goes through all the steps for doing this. And I'm just looking, not immediately seeing, oh, it might happen around here though. Because I know I saw it, yeah, there's where it's compiling. I'm going to pause that, especially since I don't know if audio was actually coming through on that. I'm not even going to take the audio from the video though. Yeah, so I'm not sure if he's got in here the flashing, but he would, I mean, I think he does have a tutorial. Oh, right here, in fact. So yeah, if you need more information, that's a place you can go, and it's there for a reason. Like, there's a reason they have this button here. Oh, one thing I almost forgot. This is actually really, really helpful, I think. I think it's a great feature, and I would love to see it come to VIA as well. So this is the key map that I talked about. So this is, my version of it. Print. So you can put in your name, put in some notes on it, and there is actually, you don't see it here, but there's a page break there, so that these will be on a separate page. And I actually did that, folded it about here, because at the time I didn't need layer 2, and it fits perfectly in the top of the NK65 carrying case. But like, for reference, I think this is a very great feature to have. As I said, unfortunately, it doesn't appear to have something similar in VIA that you can like go in there and be like, hey, I want to print this out. But yeah. All right, that's everything, I think. So, oh yeah, I guess I should mention config.qmk.fm. That's the web address for the configurator. And I do have a link in the article specifically to NK65 layout 65.anc. Isn't that dot underscore anc? Whatever. But to this specifically, so you can go in and edit it more quickly. But it's very easy if you just navigate here separately. Just look through the list and you can type in to get to stuff more quickly. It's really quite convenient. VIA is more convenient, but using the configurator is pretty convenient. Alright, so that's it, and I shall see you next time.